Here you are. Here we are. Let's do this. Welcome to Association Chat, where we warm ourselves by the virtual fire with topics of the day, welcoming thought leaders and trailblazers alike to join up in this online home for the community. I'm the host of Association Chat, Kiki L'Italienne. And before we get started, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do that thing that you hear at the beginning of every other podcast and every other interview, where I say, you know what? If you really want to show your support, please visit me on Patreon. And that's what I'm doing right now. You know, your dogs will like you more. Your hamster will like you more. Your cats will like you more. What can I say? The world will just embrace you if you think about embracing it back. And you can do that by embracing the creators and the creatives out there like myself. So go to patreon.com/association chat. You can even find other types of Patreon creators, artists of all kinds there. It's just a really great place to find people like that. And with that, now on to the show. So today we're taking a look at events. Events, what are those? We've been having them for a while, and we've been rethinking them, reimagining them, revisiting what it means to have an event and our role in them. So specifically, we're going to talk a little bit about how to turn event participants into actors and part of our event production. But to do that, we have to talk with an amazing woman whom I've known for a while. I've known for quite a while. Mm-hmm. Absolutely amazing, Dahlia El Gazzar. And she is an OMG kind of gal about all things event tech and experience design. She's her own brand with more than a decade of experience in the meetings and events sector, working on both the professional planning side and as an association collaborator. I can say that. Dahlia is known as the coffee-fueled go-to source for virtual and hybrid events, trend-setting solutions, event tech news, and professional branding expertise. And she's my friend. So welcome, Dahlia. It's so good to see you.
Good to see you too. You look amazing as always.
And so do you, my friend. Look at the color. I love the color. So vibrant and vital.
Thank you.
It's spring right now in North America, where all of and it's just like the color. It gives me hope. So thank you.
Definitely.
Just before we even start talking about our topic today, thank you for that.
Oh,
So when we were talking about what you were going to visit with me on Association Chat about, this idea about turning all event participants into actors and part of your event production was like the way that you described what we would be talking about. And so what does that mean? Like actual performers playing out some kind of role? Talk to me about that.
So we've been through a lot as event props, as event designers, and not only in the last year and a half, more so in the last year and a half. The hamster wheel really was real, no pun intended. But I think what came to light is that basically, the events have to be different. And what we knew as events, where you would, show up as an attendee, and then you would find that big, amazing stage and the lights and the camera and the action, and then the big speakers, that you might have on your stage, or those subject matter experts. What slowly came to fruition, though, especially in the last year, because we all went virtual in one shape or some shape or form, whether it's Zoom, whether it's StreamYard, whether it's just one-on-ones, etc., was that it is a part of a production. And, the production used to be only on stage. Used to be that you would take care of your speaker. You'd make sure that, the lights were right, that they were able to project or like to deliver content the right way. And all of a sudden, like you said it in your intro, we all became content creators. And even the attendees, even those that were spectators or in their seats or front row seat or back row or couch, now like taking a look at virtual events, we make fun of, like, we're consuming content from the couch. Oh, yes, we are. And then we're consuming content on our phones or on a podcast or like listening to a session while you're walking your dog, basically. We all, as content creators, are part of the production. And I think that is a big mind shift for a lot of event organizers, because they thought they had to deal with what they had on stage, or they had to deal only with their speakers. And now, if you think of it, in order to have a successful event, you know, even the attendees that you have in a chat, you depend on them to be part of the production, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fascinating. What I love that you said about it being a mind shift, I think we're still in the middle of that. I think that people are still struggling to imagine what exactly that means.
Mm-hmm.
And I think from my perspective, you know, it's already been something that we were kind of moving in that direction, communications wise and experience wise, because when we start talking about like user generated content, when we're looking at things like social media, it's like, how do you get these other actors, these other people to offer up and play in a different way, offer up their own sort of creation, their own stuff. And when you start thinking about how does that apply to virtual events, how does that apply to, you know, experience design is always asked that, you know, of people who are participating in person, but adding that element of the virtual is something that I think people are still struggling with. They're still like, how do we do it? Have you been hearing that from, because
absolutely. And you know, a lot of our clients, so the Dahlia Plus team have not shifted, and I'm not going to use the P word, but you know, our virtual production team, and they're awesome. They're amazing, because and this is just because of them taking a look at, okay, who are the content creators of the event? And so, you know, so let's take our speakers for a second. Some of our clients are medical associations. Medical associations depend on subject matter experts that are doctors in the medical field. They had no training firsthand to do anything on the virtual side or to deliver, you know, the content. So you have to take a look at it of like, okay, how do you turn that person into something that's someone who's compelling, has the right content, is part of the production. And there's a lot of like, you know, action behind the green curtain, if you will, to make that happen. And so I know a lot of the event organizers, they take a look at their subject matter experts or their speakers, and they say, we're just going to put them on Zoom and have at it. Well, you can't really do that. It's not compelling anymore. And it's not part of the production or the act. And it's to your benefit. It's actually to their benefit, because they don't know what they don't know. They could have delivered amazing sessions on site, live. But when it comes to screen, it's a very different story. So the whole idea of, and you hear the term onboarding your speakers, it should not be taken lightly anymore. And so we spend a lot of time, you know, in practice mode. And hi, John. And we spend a lot of time in content design mode. So gone are the days where you can put like a PowerPoint together and think it's going to be okay. Right. Especially if you look at the format of the presentations. Like you and I know that you and I have very short attention spans.
What?
So someone has to be like really cool, like almost magician style, like a John Chen, for example, in order to grab our attention and to keep it. And meaning that the design factor of the content not only has to be amazing, this is a training process. And so you have to train your speakers all the time. They don't know what they don't know. A lot of people don't know that PowerPoint or Google Slides or Prezi can do what they need to do. And it's part of the production. It really is. I mean, that's one big stakeholder that I think that people overlook. Now, I do know organizers are focusing more on the speakers that they're bringing on board right now. because what's also going to happen is your content is going to slowly become part of your marketing strategy. And turning your speakers to be part of your marketing strategy, some people are doing it and some people are still trying to figure it out. And I would love to hear from, anyone who's listening in, if they already have it where the speakers are part of their marketing strategy.
Yeah, I would too. So if you're watching this live and you want to, or even if you're watching it on the replay and you just want to like add later, because we can always go back and check it out. Type in and let us know whether you're watching it on YouTube or on Facebook or on LinkedIn. Let us know what your thoughts are and if you've been doing that with your own speakers and promoting them, because it would be really interesting to find out, not just promoting them, but using them in helping to build marketing, but also the experience for your event. Okay, so do we want to actually answer John's question, or are we going to ignore it, Dahlia? I mean, we know John, so we could just
answer his own question. Knowing John, he probably has.
What do you think, John?
Yeah, what do you think, John? Share with us, please.
Yeah. What's the coolest and most effective tip for content creators to engage their virtual audiences? How about
I have a quick tip.
Okay. We can do that.
The quick tip, and John, if you do have other tips, please share. But the whole inclusivity thing. So in the sense of I believe in prompts. It's almost like kids when you give them homework. So make sure that they're, the people that are in your audience, that they're actually listening to Kiki and Dahlia and not playing Candy Crush on the side. So you have to give them prompts. So basically, like giving them prompts of asking them questions, the polling, the Q&A, that's a given. But prompts of like, do homework assignments with them. So for example, take a picture of the screen right now, give a high five to Kiki and to Dahlia, and then send it off on social media. And that way, and if you do, and actually this is a thing, if you do put that on social media, then you will get coffee time with me scheduled in the next couple of weeks. So there you go. So that's kind of like how to engage, but also incentivize, and to get it go viral if you can, or get it to have like a call to action. So the tips of any engagement is have to have a plan for behavior, what you want them to do, keep them on their toes, keep them off of Candy Crush. I don't know if Candy Crush is a thing anymore. It could be Roblox or like, Animal Crossing probably. But, and then make it part of the production. So you want it to go viral. You want it to have a marketing spin to it, but then there's an incentive to it. And if anybody wants the incentive of having coffee with me, because I've had a lot of coffee today, I'm more than happy to open office hours and have coffee with everybody. So
I love that. I mean, it's a great tip. And actually that was a really great question, John. So I'm glad that you asked it. So, okay. So let's talk a little bit more about that, getting people engaged and then having them play a bigger role, because I know that you've been working with your clients to make that happen, to make it more interactive. It goes beyond just the, responding using Zoom emojis and stuff like that though. Right. Yeah. I mean, and that's what I think is sort of the sort of, not even the low hanging fruit. The fruit has fallen on the ground. And if you're not picking it up, there's something, you know what I mean? Like at that point, that's the very basic. But what you're talking about is building it into the overall experience and making it something where everyone's, richer for it. So can you tell me a little bit about like a sort of, and I didn't prompt you or prepare you for this, but like a before and after, like this is what the event was going to be. And then we went through and we said, okay, you've got to inject this with some energy and some interactivity and get these people to be more involved, more participatory.
Right. So a classic example is when, an annual conference and an organizer comes to you and says, here's the run-off show of last year's event, live on site. and we want to mimic this to be virtual.
Oh.
And you had your back-to-back, and you had your breakout sessions, and you had maybe, here's a break versus the coffee break kind of thing. What happens then is, so that's the before.
Mm-hmm.
What tends to lack is the engagement plan. And a lot of times, you would need a production team, or you would need the team behind the scenes that would say, infuse this within the engagement plan. Change the format so that the breakout is not just a straight up 15 minutes. Put something fun in it. Mm-hmm. What lacks is, what are you going to do that's going to create that emotional connection? Especially if you have first timers that don't know Kiki and Dahlia, that don't know people in the audience, even if they've seen people's, profile pictures, etc. So what is the engagement tactics, and what's going to be the prompts that you can use on a virtual side, especially? And it's going to be even more complicated if you start to say, okay, I have the live or the on-site audience, and I have the virtual audience. And a lot of people are going through this right now. It's a mind bend.
Mm-hmm.
It's a puzzle, right? But what you need to figure out is, what are you creating on the engagement side that will create those emotional connections? You don't want a bunch of Brady Bunch pictures of a screen and people say, oh, I just went to a conference. So like, if there's anything that needs to be included in the production or part of the plan itself, it's all those different ideas. And some of them are ad hoc. Some of them are on the fly. Like, a lot of times we would be in a breakout room and we're like, oh, Kiki and Dahlia, you should share your fur baby moments and share your pictures with each other. That creates like an emotional thing. Aw, and oohs and all of this. But then if they see you on site, they'll probably remember your fur baby more than they would remember anything else. And that's a conversation. That's a conversation starter.
Yeah. And that's the way, but we're humans. That's the way that we relate to one another. And it's one of the reasons, like when I look at the association chat community, every Monday I ask this question. I ask the question of the week. And the whole, I don't like to ask questions that have to do with business. I like to ask questions that are going to reveal a low risk but vulnerable, like a safe, vulnerable bit of information for folks so that they can share something about themselves that will allow them to connect with other people better. Mm-hmm. That's the whole reason, because I want people to get to connect with each other, not just blast information constantly.
Absolutely.
Right? And so how what you said about what will create those emotional connections, I think is so key, because, throughout every event, whether it's virtual or in person, you need to be thinking about this. You need to be asking that question. How are you helping people get connected? It's a lot easier when you have an open bar than it is when you're doing things virtually, but it's not impossible.
No, definitely not impossible, but it's a different mindset altogether, because we have, for the longest time, said we want to get to know our event participants better. And we want it to be more of a personalized experience. These are words we've always said, and we've always said we would do it. And so to a point where, you should do more of that. So for example, start with a different type of registration form. Start with a different type of litmus test. How are you feeling today? How are you really doing today? What's on your mind? What are you doing, career-wise? And the reality of it is, every professional is going through something, whether it's professionally, whether it's personal, whether it's mental or health related or family related, or it's career related. Even if you have your business, even if you're part of an organization, organizations are resetting and refreshing like nobody's business, no pun intended. They don't know what they don't know. they need help with sales and marketing. They need help with, you know, how do I talk to this buyer versus this buyer? This is a golden opportunity to tap into more of what I can do for you. So like, that's the question. What can you do more for your attendees? And then you create these little bubbles of conversation starters. And then you're creating these different communities. And then you cater to them. Like, you can bring them online in an ad hoc, like, breakout room. You know,
what did you, yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was thinking about this.
The bubbles?
Oh, the what?
The bubbles? What?
The bubbles? No. No, you're going to have to explain that part to me. I feel like I missed something. But no, I was thinking about that. Did you see Lawrence from Twine's post on LinkedIn about,
Elephants?
which I thought it was about the, it's not about two individual tracks, two completely separate things. Hybrid is not about your virtual track and your in-person track. And he was talking about how it's like one pathway. And then there's just this moment when there are some people who are they're virtual, and some people are meeting in person, but they're on the same path. They're still on the same path. They're part of the same journey. And I thought that was just extra. Like, I really like the example and I like the visual, because I was thinking about all those different areas where you can go and bridge the two. And I wanted to hear your thoughts on it, because when he posted this was kind of a controversial topic for some people who responded and said, no, they're completely, you know, I've been saying that you have to develop each one of them completely separately as if they're their own thing. And I think that his approach makes it a little bit more approachable. So thoughts?
Yeah. I love Lawrence, and he knows that. So he's a great mind, great mentor. I think he's right. So so I'm going to say, we have this terminology within our industry that does not want to go away. And the definitions have to change, or the terminology has to change. So when people say, oh, I'm doing a hybrid event, they literally do think that they're doing two different events.
Yeah.
What is happening is they don't want to shift the definitions. And I believe that it actually is hindering their business models. It's actually hindering the way they are able to convince ROI to exhibitors. Exhibitors, in my opinion, that word can be changed a bit for the virtual world. I don't see exhibitors as a used word because you automatically put with it certain expectations. The same with hybrid. When you say hybrid is different for everybody.
Yeah.
Call it as you will. But what people are struggling with right now, and I understand it, because you and I, we just said this before the show, was we're mentally exhausted. It's not Zoom fatigue. We're mentally fatigued. We're mentally fatigued to a point where, like, yes, we're still trying to think of one event at a time when it's actually a continuum. And that's a David Adler term right now as well. So, like, you know, what you showed me with the graphic, you know, if you think of it, your events and your attendee experiences are just going to keep going like this. And so, like, if the moments they come together, what is that going to look like? And then they're going to separate.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So you're saying it's like
and I'm actually.
So are we doing something more like this thing on the pod?
Something like that. It's like this.
Okay.
So we're like, you're talking in geometry. This is kind of.
I know. We better abandon ship real fast, because I don't know how far I can go with that.
But if you think of it, like you said, when you want to bridge those little gaps or like those moments, that's part of the strategy, and that's part of the fun. I think what people are like a TV series, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're getting people, a continuum of episodes. I would love to know who that Facebook user is. Can you please put your name? But the whole idea is, yes, it is episodes. It's a series, and you want to have a cliffhanger so that you bring them into the next season. And that's exactly what we're all wanting at the moment. And the way to create that is it's a collaboration. It's a co-creation with everybody that's on stage, with all your actors, if you will. This is where you are able to go to your attendees and say, what do you want more of? What do you want less of? Do you want to sit on the couch and have popcorn with Kiki and still virtually be part of the event? How do you want to do that? Do you want to co-create a session? Then you put out breakout rooms that they facilitate, because all of that is good stuff. That's part of what you want. And it actually lessens the burden on your team. You're giving them something that they want, that they actually created together.
Yeah. So I had to bring up Frank's comment, because he was responding to our request earlier to say, are you preparing your speakers? Like, how are you working with them for marketing and that type of thing? Onboarding speakers is so important. He says, we had a 30 to 60-minute onboarding session for each of our 170 speakers at our 3-week-long virtual convention. They became great marketeers for the event itself.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's don't get me wrong, it's a lot of work. You're dealing with a lot of Wi-Fi and cameras and the tech stuff of it that you might not have full control over. Now you can, because you can do speaker kits and all of that, but they don't know what they don't know. Mm-hmm. So onboarding them, giving them tips, making them shine will actually make your event brand shine even more. And you can do the same thing with your attendees.
So we have a answer. Yeah, we should have known.
This is an intentional conversation, because Tahira is all about intentional event design. She does it super awesomely well with like sites and everything that she touches. So the word intentional always brings Tahira to mind to me. So
absolutely. Actually, it's funny that Tahira, not funny, haha, but like interesting that she's on here with us right now, because I always point to her and say, when people are talking about, well, these are new problems, these are new things that we're trying. And I'm like, oh my gosh, look at there's this white paper that a friend of mine wrote 11 years ago. It's like, you should check this out. Yeah. But and all of us, I think about the group that a lot of the event camp crew and everybody testing things out in those early days. We've been waiting for people to actually embrace some of the possibilities for a long time.
True.
And, when this came, thank you, Tahira. When this came up, where people had to try new things, absolutely had to try new things. It was interesting to see where they went, where they didn't go, where we still haven't gone in a lot of cases. I mean, there's still so much that we can do that we're still not doing. How frustrating is that to you? Because I know that, I understand the need to try to make things simple in a complicated time, right? We don't want to make things more complicated than they need to be. But there are so many different types of solutions and ways to go about something. And I think a lot of people look at creativity as a luxury in time that they don't have. What are your thoughts?
No, I totally agree. I agree that people are it's almost like a wait and see, or let me see if someone else does it first.
Right.
I will tell you this, so the pandemic that we've gone through sort of showed our resilience level, but it also showed that we need to be more agile. and we need to be embracing change faster than we did before. And we've always said that. There's always this whole idea of I'll be creative next year in my next annual. I'll be, more adventurous. I will change my tech solutions after this 15-year contract that I have. And you can't do that anymore. If you don't change, if you are not creative, if you do not be inclusive of other people's different ideas and bring them to the table, you will die as an organization or as a business. And we've seen it firsthand right now, in the sense of, you've had trade shows where they're saying, we'll wait until, live comes back. So I remember when shutdown happened in last March, and some of the industry publications, they called me up and they're like, okay, so when is live coming back? And I would say, maybe end of 21. They're like, we can't publish you because that's too long. I'm like, okay, then go and do your predictions. And then they went and did predictions over the predictions. Yes. And then the whole thing that you hear is, we're going to wait until live comes back. We all want live events to come back. We totally do. But this is the opportunity to be faster. Yeah. And we have people's attentions. You have to respect their time. You have to respect their attention span, and also give them something that they can look forward to and differentiate that event continuum. So Tahira doing sites 24 hours. And then doing the talent show, and then doing all this content. The differentiators are going to be in content and in marketing going forward. And the content has to be a production. You have to compete. And everybody's been using this analogy. Compete against your Cobra Kai. Compete against Bridgerton and Duke Hastings. But you're going to have to compete in a way where everybody is an actor on stage and delivering some amazing piece of content.
We don't like your prediction. Oh my God. Yes. And it's so true. Actually, so I am actually recorded. I was on Megan's, the Swap Card podcast.
Yeah, Megan Powers.
And on Megan's podcast in March of last year, and I was asked that question, and I too said maybe end of 21. Based off of what the information that was coming in, I'm like, I just don't see how this will, work before then. And at the time, no one wanted to hear that. I mean, people were mad that we were even talking about not having meetings. And so, I look back at that and I think, ooh, I hope that weathers well. So far, I mean, I would like to be right and have it not be later, but,
right. But I think, so here's the other factor is no matter when, so live is coming back. It's not the same design. It's not the same format. And your audience is still going to keep on changing. So how are you going to keep changing with your audience, what they want? And John, you can compete against Duke Hastings any day of the week. I'm just saying right now. So but the whole idea is you might actually end up, and you will, with an audience that is slowly dipping their toe back into your on-site event, but they're going to be attending it virtually from the couch in their hotel room. Yeah. And you got to cater to that. Yeah. And you got to do it in a way where it's Facebook, I was reading Facebook user, but you're going to have to do it in a way that appeals to them. Is it going to be, streamed? This is where you take a look really at the technology that you're going to be using, but also what content are you producing? And so you can create that whole idea of, okay, you want to be in your hotel room? Great. But there is a group of like-minded people like Kiki and Dahlia. They love white cheddar popcorn. Do you like white cheddar popcorn?
I actually really do. And it's pretty sad how many times I've had the you know what I'm saying, the white cheddar popcorn. Yeah.
So imagine if we're there but we're not really there. But like if Tahira is intentionally designing this, she will say, I have a white cheddar popcorn like round table that's going to go on, and you guys are going to discuss,
I would so be there.
You will leave in your bunny slippers and go to that roundtable discussion group. And then she would have gotten you. Bingo, yep. She got you and she got me. And then she'll give us the white cheddar popcorn. And then we're good because she knew what we liked. She knew we were there. And then she started it.
Yes, yes. I love it. So, so we say, we just did that. A live event general session only allowed to hold 50. So we streamed to both a meeting room and the hotel rooms for the balance of the group. Yay, Tahira. Oh my gosh.
Did you get white cheddar popcorn?
Oh, yeah, did you have it?
All right, there you go. All right, fine. So we're good. Yeah, see,
right.
There you go.
White cheddar popcorn con featuring you too. I would be there for sure.
Exactly.
For sure. Yeah.
But so do you see how it's orchestrated? It became a production. Like
I do. So how do we get there though? For people who are really trying to, who are maybe sitting back and they're saying, okay, well, again, that sounds great, but how do I get to the white cheddar popcorn moment? Like, how do I know? Where do I make that connection?
So this is where I always say you can't design and create alone anymore. Mm-hmm. And it has to be a collaborative, co-created effort, not necessarily only internal team. It has to be with others. You have to bring people outside. And I'll give you a great example. So Duncan Wardle, the ex-VP of innovation for Disney, which I know you know him. Yeah. He told me of a scenario where when they used to do a design for like a new theme park or like a new something, they would just bring someone random in, whether it was a chef or someone that was doing landscaping or someone that didn't necessarily have a seat around the table, and then just have them come with new ideas. That's what we need to be open to. Associations at the moment, unfortunately, they're going into like their teams are smaller. They're going through where their talent might be furloughed still. They're going through that fatigue, that mental fatigue. Tap into people that are outside of your world, your internal world, that can help you with ideas. Tap into people that are your attendees. Tap into those focus groups. But you have to do it in a way where they don't feel like they're being interrogated. Right. They need to feel that they are being part of the bigger screen.
Yes. Can I just say, I'm interjecting here because I'm so excited and passionate that you said that. Like that actually brings it creates an emotional response in myself. Okay. So I cannot stand when people are not upfront about when they're trying to get information for a particular purpose. And this is where honest communication, let people, there's a friend of mine, David Allison, Tira, you introduced me to David. David Allison, who says people want to join your parade. They don't just want to don't go and just say, give me $1. They want to join your parade, your movement, the party. Yes. So don't go and just pepper people with like a dozen questions that are asking like, what's your favorite flavor of popcorn? Help them to join your parade. They want to join your parade.
Right.
Is that fair? Totally. Is that fair? Does that make sense to anybody else but me? I thought it was a really great way to approach it.
I think it totally makes sense. And, the idea is, and one big stakeholder is your sponsor, is your new type of business partner. I'm not going to call them exhibitors because I think this is where you can figure out what do they want to be part of. Where do they fit in the parade?
So Rachel is insisting that we answer this question. All right.
I know what she's getting at too.
Yeah.
A nice picture, Rachel. But so who owns the production piece? I think the production piece should be owned by marketing. And I think that is another shift that can happen internally. But like if you think of it, And the reason why I say marketing, I actually had a conversation with someone from Catherine from Informa this morning, where it's owned by marketing, because it's almost interesting because that marketing comes in last. And so, like, you know, you have the events team and the programming team and the sponsorship team and, you know, the money and the revenue team baking this cake of an event. And then they give it over to marketing as if it's like, oh, just put some frosting on it and then we're good. Mm-hmm. Where it's actually the other way around, because like you need to figure out what you're going to be marketing. You need to have someone in there that's baking with you, because all the ingredients lead to, okay, how are you going to communicate that to? Like how and to whom and what's it going to stand for? And that whole thing. Hey, Matthias.
I know, Matthias, he's saying you guys are winning my attention. I have to read this out, because for the people who are listening to this later, it doesn't make sense when we just respond to these bubbles at the bottom. So you guys are winning my attention. Need to try white cheddar popcorn. Guess that's an American thing.
Yes, it is. Yeah. I'm going to have to send you some to Amsterdam.
I know. We'll do that.
But I think marketing it should be the owner.
Well, see, that's a mind shift right there, because I'm thinking of the people near and dear to me. I don't know how I can have the experience I have in marketing, be like as into marketing as I am. And I guess maybe it's a testament to them feeling open, like they can share their honest feelings with me. But look, people still look at marketing and they do not see relationship building. They do not see it as a place where there's a two-way conversation happening. What they see marketing as is they see this slick, like, let's just go, and the barrage of nonstop promotional stuff. And I think that that's a mind shift too, that people maybe need to take a new look at what marketing has become in a lot of different organizations. Because I think if you talk to a lot of people who are marketers, you'll find out that there's a lot more engagement involved in that has happened, you know, over time.
Oh, definitely. And then if you look at how marketing has changed, right? I think we struck a chord with.
I know. Reed says Cheetos versus white cheddar, different impacts.
Yeah, absolutely. Different round tables too. Right. But and you're going to need wipes for.
Yes, Cheetos. Lots of white. Well, we know our sponsor. There's our sponsor.
Exactly. There you go. But what I was going to say is, you know, with the shift in marketing and with the shift of how people want to be reached, you know, that's the other personalization of the user experience. So the user experience doesn't start with registration. The user experience starts with, does Kiki want to have promotions sent to her on a weekly basis, or just once and then once to log on? Or does Dahlia want to get promotions via text versus emails because I don't like my inbox anymore? So like, you know, so the user experience and this is the other layer, is the marketing, the communications, not necessarily pre-event only, but also during the event, post-event. How do you use your content after the event in order to build up that feeling of, oh, I just met 50 people. Not only do they love white cheddar popcorn, but they love event or email marketing. And I'm going to meet them next year when we go to Orlando. And so you create that continuum again, you know, and you don't have to wait from one annual to another. It's part of it's a long game.
Yeah. That's an interesting thought. I mean, I keep going down that path in my mind as, oh, the white cheddar popcorn. So that could be our tribe. And we like start sharing our favorite brands and ahead of time, before the meeting. This is a way that we group people together by their snacks. Yes. You know, at least we'll know that they're all like enjoying the same snack. Absolutely. But it's fascinating because, you know, I've this idea of values too. Like, you know, for years we've talked about looking at our customers, clients, participants, our members through this lens of what are their demographics and, you know, what are their psychographics. But then this idea of the value graphics that again, David Allison speaks to, what are their values? And when are you capturing that information? And where are you capturing it? And how can you help that to help, get that information and help that to build your relationships stronger, better, more effectively? Not just before you start promoting for your event. Hey, I see a little going up in the back. And not just before your event, leading up to it, but the whole time, like ongoing, building these relationships.
So when we talk about relationship building, and I know that this is not a trend, but this is like a big chat that's happening in the industry. We talk about community building. Yeah. And so like, if you think of it as, and it was last year, like in the end of the last year, where I'm like, what if you, so we all were part of associations. We were all members of associations, and we all are in a way. And so, but we were on it because of emotional purpose or reason, or we wanted to better ourselves. Mm-hmm. We wanted to connect. So there's that emotional, there's that value add, that's that like continuing like our education. So you're building communities. And if you build the communities correctly, if they thrive on emotion and on connection, then they will thrive on more so on content, meaning then you can put events around them or meanings, like in the sense of, for associations, when trade shows were taking a big shift in design or how they are. This is why people are like, okay, why don't we just create marketplaces? And so there's a purpose there. It's like, and it doesn't necessarily have to be part of the overall conference anymore. You can split it up. But people had a hard time thinking that because they were used to one thing. They were used to having an annual conference that had an expo hall. You open the expo hall from 1 to 4. I mean, you and I have been there. Like, oh, yeah. and was it successful? It was very successful for many. Was it dwindling for some? Yes. Yeah. So now is the point where, like, take a look at it in a different way, but take a look at your stakeholders and ask them what you want to do. Mm-hmm. I bet $1 million. I don't have $1 million, but I bet if you're able to design a place where your sponsors or exhibitors that used to live on the trade show floor have a better way of conversations or a better way of helping others, yeah, they would bring in the qualified leads that they want, but they have to be coached. Everybody has to be coached right now. Same as your speakers.
Yeah, it's so true, and I'm so glad that I'm trying to think of who said this earlier, and it was Frank. So Frank was talking about onboarding his speakers, 170 speakers for their 3-week-long virtual convention.
The force be with you, Frank.
Yeah, that's incredible. I think that in taking that time, though, up front, it is such a huge differentiator between what you could get, like what you get, as far as just your basic level. Hopefully the tech works. Hopefully they show up on time, all of that. And something where everyone feels like they're part of something bigger. They want it to succeed. They have a stake in it. They actually care, and they show up and it's high quality, right? Huge difference there. And I've seen the difference. I've seen the difference between those who prepare and those who do not. And in that way. And when you get more people, it is hard up front, but when you get more people who are playing on the same team with you and they know what the plan is, they know why you're playing the game in the first place, right up front, it just turns out so much better,
Yeah, absolutely. So you have to make them part of the long game. Yeah. And if associations and if organizations are doing this right now, then they're spot on. But they need to start thinking of promoting different assets in different moments, not one-offs. So not a sponsorship for a 3-day event. They need to think of, how do I do it long game? What do I do across like the 365? And it's something that we've been talking about for a very long time. And so now is the moment where you need to look at what we've been talking about and putting it into action. No fear. There needs to be no fear right now for anybody. And I know there's a lot to think of, but you can't have that fear factor stop you from being creative.
Yeah. And I think that hopefully by now everyone's realized that as we're rethinking the way that we do almost everything in our lives right now, and in business and in communication, another area is in these definitions that have been these traditional definitions. What is a sponsor? What is a sponsorship package? You know, what does that relationship look like? And you know, I've seen more of these conversations happening online right now, where it's really looking at that and saying, okay, while we're talking about biases in other areas, social and otherwise, let's talk about the bias that we have in some of these labels that we've given to certain roles in the events industry, in you know, a lot of different places. And I think that that's one of those challenges. We're all tired, but there's just so much work to be done, and things have changed in such a way that we have to rethink the way that we look at these different definitions. Yes. Oh my gosh. And I see, so I stepped away from looking at the comments for a second, and Matthias has some interesting things to say. So associations are in the community business and should think in terms of online communities, not just online events. Events are a means to community building, not the end goal. Many opportunities. And preaching it, yeah, I know. I get very, you know, I'm lucky that Dahlia comes on, because I get preachy about this topic for sure. And it's so fun when I get to do it with somebody else who also really cares deeply.
Well, and Matthias is the king of community building, so he knows his stuff too. So
yeah. Absolutely. Well, you know, okay, so we have about 8 minutes left in our time together. So what else is really driving you crazy? No, so
what don't you like about yourself? No,
I know. Where do we start? How long
it's like a Nip Tuck moment. I used to love that series.
You know, I just have to say that we came into this talking about how we can think of our participants as actors, you know, in our event production. But as we look to people who are wanting to take those first steps, you know, and maybe we've gotten a little bit overwhelming, you know, talking about the way that things can be, what are some of the first steps that you would suggest that they take and say, okay, all right, I'm going to own this. I'm going to rethink my definitions of how I look at sponsors and stuff, but where do I even start?
Yeah. So I would say first and foremost, you have to start by knowing what your stakeholders want and where they're at. And I don't mean in the sense of, oh, send out a survey monkey. I don't mean take a look at your evaluations from like a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. They don't apply anymore. Second is to, like, I mean, honestly, do a deep dive, and you need to know who they are, what they're all about, especially internally. So your biggest stakeholder is your team, because the skill set and the mind shift has changed to a point that sometimes it's hard to take a look inside your team and say, are they going to be able to do what we need to do? Do they need outside help? Do they need enablement from different technologies that it's not like homegrown or anything like that? So knowing what your stakeholders want, but also, and a lot of organizers, I've had conversations where, you know, I'm talking to an event organizer, they know what needs to happen. They see it, they envision it, it's awesome, and they need someone to help them sell it internally. And that validation moment is critical. And if you have someone in your corner that can help you take it to the C-suite, show them that it's not about like, I will get you $5 million like you had in last year's trade show, because that's what's going on in their head.
Right.
You know, but that this is an evolution. This is long game. This is what you can do. I would say start out with insight analysis and take a look at someone and put a team together internally, externally. make sure that you get, the right team in place that can help you take it forward. New strategy, new plan, new ideas. And then who's going to help you put everybody on stage? Who's going to help you with 170 speakers, like in Frank's situation, if you don't have that, talent, for example? Who's going to up the game or up the content game? Because that's a big differentiator at the moment as well. And who's going to help you monetize all these great ideas? So it's like, that's the 3 steps. Is it 3 or 5? And the white cheddar popcorn. You definitely need the white cheddar.
If you have white cheddar popcorn, I'm just saying, your event success may be in the bag. You may
It's already done.
It's already done.
Yeah,
you got it.
Exactly.
So I have to say, so the question of the week, we've been asking for the podcast interview series, the question of the week that's asked in the private Facebook community. This week, the question of the week is, what is your idea of perfect happiness? And I have to say, I don't want to make this harder than it already is, but this question, I came across this question because it was one of a series that was asked of the author, Neil Gaiman, who's one of my very favorite authors in the world. And so I have Neil Gaiman's answer in the background over here, Dahlia. No pressure. No, but it was an okay answer. Okay, it was okay. What is your idea of perfect happiness?
Oh my God, that's a big one, Kiki. Can you start? Can you give me your answer, and then maybe
I can make it easier. I'll give you a qualifier that will give you an out. Okay, because sometimes this is the magic genie question. So, what is your idea of perfect happiness today?
Perfect happiness today is truly like peace of mind and peace of heart for my loved ones.
That's a good one. That's a good answer. I'd be curious how other people might respond. One of the things that I know about you is that you have a lot of heart. That's before I even met you, what I heard other people saying about you was that you had such a big heart. And so I think that makes a lot of sense,
Thank you.
Yeah.
You have a big heart too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I hope that wasn't too intense for you, Dahlia. If people want to
why I don't like you anymore.
If you want to reach out to Dahlia, there are several different ways that you can reach out to her, but you can tweet her. And I'm putting, for those who are listening, you can look in the show notes, but for those who are watching right now, you should definitely go and follow her on all of these different places. You can tweet her, you can check her out and connect with her if you're not already on LinkedIn. And then definitely follow her on Instagram as well. And I'm trying, I asked her about this whole DJ hobby thing that was going on the side. I'm going to hold you to it, Dahlia. You really have to get back into that. And you and I will get together sometime having our white cheddar popcorn.
Definitely.
And listening to the beat. I'll listen to you drop the beats.
Okay. That sounds like that's a dream come true. That's happiness right there for me.
That's perfect happiness.
That is perfect happiness. Definitely.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today. And thanks to all of you. I hope that you had a good time and that you've learned a little something more about the way that you can approach your events in new, hopefully new and more engaging ways in the future. One of the things that I always ask for everyone, any sort of association chat program that you watch, is that you keep asking questions. And why? Why do you ask these questions? You ask questions to learn every day, because as Joseph Campbell once said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. So go find that treasure. I hope you have a great rest of the week, everyone.